starting at City Hall.
Well, it freaked me out when I saw that on the paper.
Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary to note roll call.
Jeremy Paschek is absent, all others present.
Board correspondent report. Amy.
All right, just 3 items because it's kind of slow at the moment. DPI came out and announced that NCS Pearson is selected to be the statewide reading readiness screener for the Wisconsin Act 20. They're gonna get some details out after July 15th and let everybody know about administration, accommodations, accessibility options, and trainings for teachers and admin. And that will all be announced right before the school year begins. The Supreme Court of Wisconsin has announced it'll take up the suit filed by WMC, the Wisconsin Manufacturers Commerce, that was filed in April that seeks to overturn Governor Evers' use of the partial veto to annually raise the school revenue limits by $325 per pupil until 24-25. He did the crossing out of the letters. Vanna White is what they call it. The governor did this to provide school districts with predictable long-term increases for the foreseeable future. And what you just gave me, Amber, really reflects on how it's been lagging since 2009 and how they took kindergartners and then they tracked them through 12th grade and they had a deficit of $3,000 over their course of the per pupil spending, just the way the legislator had denied it, kind of roped it in. And then there's a bipartisan group of U.S. senators introducing a bill that would require the creation of a formal guidance for pre-K through 12 schools on the use of artificial intelligence. And I'm like, wow, where has everything gone? That's what we're going on. And the National Science Foundation also has an AI Education Act that's going to establish scholarships, professional development opportunities, and spur new research to better protect and orientate the workforce with emerging technology and AI.
Well, we need to gear up because it's here.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, interesting. Is that it?
That is it.
Oh, okay. My 3 items. All right, board CC report.
We met on June 12th, just an update that Valders School District replaced the Chilton seat that was vacated because our rep that was from Chilton is no longer on the Chilton School Board and they decided not to refill it with another rep. We tried a new agenda. It's a new consent agenda and it sounds like we're the only district from the attendees at that meeting that don't do just a batched consent agenda. So something to think about, look into if we are interested in abbreviating meetings with that. They explained the contract, the units of service, which I'm sure you guys dug into a little bit more, but they did a really good example that I thought I would share with the whole board when we talk about the units of service. It's based on the caseload and the CISA costs. So before, if there were 2 audiologists, one's salary was $70,000, the other salary is $50,000. The districts that were supported by the $70,000 are charged X amount for that person's salary, and the districts who are getting the $50,000 salary are charged X amount for that. And if they're in 7 school districts or 2 school districts, it all weighs differently. So now they've combined it all in a model, and they have a really nice new business manager who really understands finance well. They've made it a costing model and a cost structure that they can better off forecast those costs, and then thus that's why our contracts are written in as one unit of service. But I thought that was a super good example to use those audiologists to help us understand that cost model. July 12th and 13th, summer learning session for the regional WASB stuff. And then Stacy is running a regional principal cohort for next school year. And I was excited to hear we are all signed up for that. So, and I'll email that to you.
Any questions for either of these two? Okay, we'll keep going. No student in the summer. I don't have any misconceptions or rumors. Nobody signed in. The only announcement I would have is, again, there's that conference, I think it's in July, if anybody wanted to go to it, it is in Green Bay. So if you want to go, just let the office know and they'll get you signed up. And other than that, administration reports.
All right, good evening, everyone. Our agenda for tonight, we'll do an update on district finances. We have our budget amendments for our current 23-24 budget that we'll be proposing. Then we also have our preliminary budget for next school year, 24-25, that we'll take a vote on tonight. And then we will give an update on our life insurance for our retirees. I have a brief update on the referendum projects. And then I will follow that up with a summer maintenance projects that our facilities crew is working on. So, turn it over to Amber and she will do a budget update.
Okay, so our operating funds continue to be on target, no surprise there, we're doing a fantastic job. The final orders for classroom furniture replacement upgrades were placed in May, and we're starting to see those invoices come through. Year-end entries will be made this month, or some of them already have been made. We've kind of been working on it. We're nearing the end of the month already this week, so. One thing I wanted to note in here is that our interest earnings are quite a bit higher than we had anticipated this year. If you see up there on the slide, we're at 133.15% of our estimation for this year as of the end of May. So we had an increase in investment earnings of about 19,000 in May, so we should see that again in June. So that was really nice. Our other funds that we have, next slide. There's really no change here, other than I wanted to note for everyone that the Fund 38 debt, this is the debt that the school board can vote on up to a maximum of $1 million, is being, or was paid off this month. So the check went to the bank last week. So next year you will not see Fund 38 on these slides. Okay, so our budget amendment for this year, we are adding or increasing expenditure authority in funds 10, 27, and 50. And we are decreasing the expenditure authority in Fund 80. So Fund 10, we're increasing it because our interest investment earnings are up significantly, and we did have some decrease in expenses. So we're gonna utilize that to increase our transfer out to the capital fund. And just for everyone's reference, a transfer out to the capital fund is considered an aidable expense. So it helps when the state is looking at our expenses to decide how much aid we're going to get. So, in Fund 27, we had a little bit of extra cash coming in from the Kewanee School District. We contracted with them for speech language services. And then we also had a teacher vacancy, which also helped reduce our salary expenses for this year, which was a really good thing because we did have an increase in alternative schooling needs for this year. So that's where their increase came from. In Fund 50, we received a grant for the purchase of a salad bar at the elementary school, and we utilized the fund balance for improvements in the kitchen. So they added some equipment, replaced some older equipment, and we needed to do that because our fund balance was too high per DPI's requirements, so we needed to spend it down a little bit. In Fund 80, we decreased the expenditure authority because our revenues were less than our estimate. So this is the first full year with POPs. We didn't really have anything to compare to, so it was kind of a stab in the dark of what those revenues would be. And so we just aligned our expenditures with our revenues. The budget information in your packets has a little bit more information than what's up on your slide, but it's pretty detailed, so I don't want to go into it too much more. Does anyone have any questions on this? Okay. So then next year's budget. Our new year starts July 1st, which is Saturday? Monday? Okay, I knew it was coming soon. So we need to have a preliminary budget in place so that we can continue to operate and pay payroll and all that good stuff. However, our better numbers and more details won't be provided until this fall when we pass the final budget. So this is very, very preliminary, which is why it is so high level. There's no functions shown here, you just got by the funds. Right now, the state categorical aids, revenue limits, and other revenues from the state are very rough estimates based on our Baird budget model. We also need to finalize wages, taxes, and benefits once we have all the positions filled that we're hiring for. So we've got some numbers thrown in there where we think we might end up, but we'll fine tune that when we get closer to the fall. Our target for fall is to not use any fund balance reserves to balance Fund 10's budget if possible, and you guys have done that the last few years. I fully expect that we'll be doing that again this year. You'll see in funds 21, 39, 46, and 73 that we are using fund balance. That is perfectly acceptable. That's what these funds are for. 21 is your donations and grants for private or very specific things. 39 is the referendum debt, so we smooth out the bond payments from year to year, so our taxpayers aren't seeing these big swings from year to year when those payments go up and down. So you will build some fund balance throughout the years and then utilize it in the years that it's a little bit higher and you're not taking as much in. 46 is our capital. We are planning to do some projects next year. It's been a while since we've used funds from 46 for projects. And then 73 is that OPEB liability trust account. So, any questions on the funds or budget for next year? Okay. So moving right along, life insurance for our retirees. We met with them last week, Thursday, and we reviewed the changes with them. We had, I want to say about 20, 25 people that came out of 50 total. So that's pretty good. We do have some that don't live in the area, so it's a little harder for them to get here. We proposed some options to them. Option 1 is the one we talked about last month, where we will ease them into the new rates by paying a small portion that decreases over the next several years. And then we also offered option 2, which is to choose a payout. So it was suggested that maybe we should consider paying the amount that they paid in. And so we kind of talked about it and said, well, we could do that, but we would need to max it out. So we picked $1,000 for a max, and we would pay it out over 4 years. So that reduces us having to produce 1099s for anybody who chooses this option. It also helps the district too if somebody were to choose this, because we probably would pay a lot less this way than we would if they stayed on the plan. So we are asking the board tonight to approve both options so that the retirees can choose what they want to do. And I think that kind of helps prevent any hard feelings of them being backed into a corner as well, so. And I think Jesse also passed around the slideshow from the retiree meeting so you can see what we showed them. And then he also gave you the option or election form that our attorney has helped us work on.
How was it received?
For the most part, I think it was received pretty well. Yeah, there was a couple that weren't real happy, but not, I don't think anyone was real mad at the district. There was a lot of grumbling about those darn insurance companies. So, and it really, this is a result of the insurance company making a change, so.
Okay. I'm sure they appreciated the fact that we were trying to do everything we
Yes.
could to minimize the impact.
Yeah.
Good.
I just want to mention that I really appreciate Amber and Allison being part of those meetings, because they sat down with each individual retiree and went through their actual plans and how much they have contributed for their premiums, and they were able to make a decision. You know, it was not forced on them or anything, but it was nice to have that one-to-one.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Perfect.
I think that personal touch kind of helped
Always
smooth over
does.
some hard feelings too.
Mhm.
Always does.
So you had the numbers prepared for everyone,
Yes.
and then, okay.
Great.
Nice.
yes, they'll have until July 31st then to make a decision. They have to return their election form with their options, so we'll have a better idea, hopefully, next month's meeting.
Of the retirees that weren't there, they're gonna get a mail?
Yeah,
correct?
Yeah, so the one you guys have is kind of generic, it's got insert number here.
Yeah.
We'll personalize each one that goes out, so they can look at the numbers
Okay.
and make a decision that's best for them in their situation. And then on that election form, there is a third option that our attorney said you should offer. I don't anticipate anybody choosing it, but
I
the
see
third
that.
option is just, I'm done, I'm not gonna pay in anything, you don't need to pay me anything else, thank you. So,
Do you want to?
yeah, so this is just the next steps for the board. Once you guys make your decision tonight, then we'll work with the attorney to finalize that form. Then we'll send out a letter to the retirees with that form, ask them to return it, and hopefully we'll have all of that out, if not this week, by early next week. So, and then once again, we'll offer to meet with them individually if they want to, if they wanna go over things once more before they make their choice. And I think last month when we met, we had 51 retirees on, we only have 50 left, so. Oh, and one last thing, it does not apply to any new retirees, it's only to the ones that are currently on that retiree census list. That's it.
You get the referendum thing?
I get to take this one? Yay! So we had our credit rating call with Standards and Poor, and I'm very pleased to report that we have been upgraded to AA-, high grade. So that's the first step on the high grade list. Some of the factors that helped us get that upgrade was the purchase of POPs, believe it or not. They were very pleased with the thought of the continuity for helping support enrollment for future students. And they really liked our fund balance reserve levels that we're at right now. We're about 45% or so. They really like the fact that the district traditionally passes a balanced budget, and we plan to continue to do so. And then the budget information that we provide to you guys every month so that you can keep tabs on where we're at and how we're doing was also a huge factor in that. So as a result of our upgrade, the notes were sold at an average interest rate of 4.28%. So last month when Kevin was here, I think he was thinking we were gonna get around 4.62%, we got 4.28. And when we were doing the referendum planning, they actually planned at 5.25.
Yeah.
So we are almost a full interest point below. So we're
That's-
doing really
That's
really
big.
good.
That's awesome.
That's big for that amount of money.
Yes, it
Big
is.
difference. Excellent.
Our annual payments will be about $30,000 less per year than we were originally anticipating, so.
All right, that leads me into an update on the referendum projects. We had a meeting with Bayland and the various stakeholders or staff members on June 3rd. We met in here, actually reviewed all the different projects one by one, gathered input from staff members on what they would like to see as part of these projects. We discussed the timelines and kind of rough estimates of when they would start, when they would be finished. Right now, I talked with Jim this afternoon, Jim Tice from Bayland. The bids are gonna be going out in early to mid-July actually for the parking lot and the plumbing and roof for the elementary school. Those are the first two projects they would like to get underway. They feel like the parking lot could be done before school year starts, hopefully. So we can avoid having to shift cars around or close off sections of the parking lot. And with the dust and stuff, that would be a pretty big mess, I think, if it was during the school year. And then obviously with the plumbing and the roof at the elementary school is a priority, so we wanna get that going as quickly as we can, so. Once the bids go out, they have 2 weeks to return them. They actually have to put a notice in the local newspaper for the bids, which I learned that, I did not know that today. So once bids are received back here at the district, we'll review them and then pick a bid, the best bid that fits our needs, and then we'll go from there, so. McKinstry is starting to work on some energy efficiency things in the coming weeks right now with the holiday right around the corner. They actually got access to our mechanical systems through the internet, so they have control or can view all of our HVAC systems right now. And so they're kind of right now just monitoring that to see how we're currently using it, so they have a baseline basically to go off of. And
Jesse,
then-
is there any timelines on them bids as far as, not receiving them back, but as far as, a date that they maybe have to start and have to be done with them projects? If they-
That is
if they
included
did-
in the bid packages, I believe, or timelines, so, yes.
Not that they're the cheapest bid, but can't
Correct.
start till September.
Absolutely, and that's a really good point. Just because the bid comes in the lowest doesn't mean it's the best
Correct.
bid, right? It depends on what materials they're gonna be doing, what their timeline is, how many construction workers are gonna be on the project, so. And that'll all be taken in here as a district, and we get to decide that.
Okay.
Bayland does not have any part in that,
Okay,
so.
That's, I'm just gonna note, it's a little bit different than, say, a city project where they have to go to bid for projects over 25,000, and they have to take the lowest responsible bidder. The school district doesn't have to do that.
Right.
We aren't required to go to bid until it reaches a much higher threshold.
Yep.
So you have a little bit more leeway than most municipal projects would.
Any other questions about referendum? Okay. Then my last item is just some summer maintenance projects that our facility crew has been working on over the summer or will be continuing to work on. So at the elementary school, doing the last of the lighting replacements to LEDs. They have the stairwells in the east halls. Again, we are receiving credit from the utility company here in Algoma and the folks on energy. So that will be a little bit of a rebate that we can apply to these costs. The guys are also installing some carpet tiles in the entranceways. We are sand and sealing 7 classroom floors. If you recall, a lot of those floors are those old original floors, and they've got about 30 layers of wax that have been added on year after year after year. So it's time where we need to take that down to the original floors and then put another seal over it. So we're gonna do 7 classrooms this summer. We have another 6 to do that we'll be doing next summer right now. So the cost for these 7 rooms is coming in at about $16,000. So it's a pretty costly project to do it. But we also, in our securing that price, we also locked them in for that price for next year as well, so they can't increase it, so. We're gonna be painting the front office. Shelley found a color she liked.
No, we don't know. We're closer, we're getting closer and closer.
So the guys will be doing that, and then adding some electrical outlets to some of the classrooms that are lacking, so. Here at the middle school and high school, again, replacing some lighting in the kitchen to the LED, installing some more carpet tiles in the entranceways. I'm happy to say that we received our rugs that we had ordered through Badger Flooring. They arrived last week, and they haven't been rolled out yet because the guys are waiting to finish some of these projects before putting them out there so they don't get dirty and stuff. But excited to see what those look like. And then we'll be replacing some door closures on our fire doors. And the last thing is adding drain tile to some of the wet areas. One that comes to mind is that front, by the parking lot there, with all the rain we had last week, it was a pond and we had ducks sitting in there, so hopefully we can avoid that.
I'm gonna miss the ducks.
And then the last one over at Pack of Pups Childcare, they've added some wood chips to the playground and under the fence area. They're gonna be looking at removing and replacing the sidewalk to the front door. It's pretty cracked and is a safety concern. They added some shade protection to the outside play area already. And then we also got some new playground equipment through the grant, through the Greater Green Bay Foundation grant that we received last year. So they will be installing that new play set. And that is all I have.
Okay. Questions for Jesse? Hearing none, we'll keep moving. Katie?
Okay, so I'm gonna start with an update on our AGR program, so our Achievement Gap Reduction Program. I passed out two different things to you before the meeting started, and the first thing I'm going to reference is just the single sheet. This is a summary of our performance objectives as of the end of the school year. So if you remember, AGR is really only collecting data for kindergarten through third grade students. We need to create a goal in both reading and math for each grade level, and then throughout the year we track progress towards meeting the goals that we set for them. So on the left-hand side, in the smallest column going down, you can see that I have written in that blue ink where it says end of year meeting benchmark, and then you'll see the percentages. And you can compare that to our performance objectives and our goals that we set in the beginning of the year. If you take a look at the grade levels, we're kind of all over the place. Kindergarten met both goals. First grade met the math goal and was close on the reading goal. Second grade and third grade did not meet either of the reading or the math goals. I think this is pretty consistent with recent conversations that we've had, just in terms of at the elementary school, some of the curriculum work that we are initiating in reading. Starting in August, early August, we're going to be working with Charlotte Meyer from CISA 7, and she is going to lead us through a deep dive of our curriculum as it relates to Act 20. We're going to look at adopting a new curriculum that aligns with the science of reading strategies. So we're kind of going to do a whole overhaul in that sense. Also in reading, we have our teachers who have begun their Keys to Literacy training. I've started that training myself as well this month, and it definitely is a very different training, but also very very informative. I know Marie and I have talked about it, just some of the things that I've been learning about it, but I think it'll better inform us as to just those components of early literacy and what really needs to be in place as early as 4K in order to set the foundation for some of that higher level stuff that we see second, third, and beyond. In math, we are adopting the new curriculum for 5th and 6th grade. This year was the first year that 3rd and 4th grade used the new curriculum. So now we kind of have a better bridge throughout all the grade levels for the first time in a while. And then we do have that new math interventionist position, which will be helpful for the students that are struggling a little bit with math. And very much like literacy, you know, the goal is to kind of uncover what those foundational skills are that we can be laying a better, or just preparing them a little bit better as early as 4K kindergarten so that they can continue to make that progress moving forward. So we're going to keep working on those things, but I just wanted to provide you with that. Any questions on those goals or anything that I mentioned? All right, the next thing that I handed out to you is the stapled sheet. We also, our AGR contract is up with DPI. It's a 5-year contract, so we do have to reapply. So what I have provided for you is just a copy of the information that will be included with the application. So it's very much similar to creating goals for each of the grade levels in reading and then also in math, and laying out what assessments we're going to use, laying out the strategies that we're going to use. We always try to stick to an 18:1 student to teacher ratio. That is kind of the original strategy that it used to be called SAGE, but that's the original strategy that DPI wanted districts to adhere to in order to get that funding. But they've kind of changed it a little bit to incorporate things like coaching and then one-on-one support for students. So we do some coaching, but we really try to stick to that smaller class size. The only thing in here that is a little different than our last contract that we submitted 5 years ago is that we kind of are right in the middle of some of these changes that are coming from DPI just with Act 20. So they're asking us to identify these screeners and different diagnostic assessments, but we really don't know. I mean, we have a little bit of information now on the screener, but as far as the diagnostics go, we'll probably have to change some verbiage with that along the way over the next 5 years. But I put a note in there of that under the assessments piece. And I'm guessing they're very well aware of that, but, just as you go through it, for you to know as well. And I think that is about it. Any questions on our contract?
I have one.
Yes,
So you didn't increase anything? You're just keeping everything the same?
yes.
Okay.
As far as the goal, the
Right, the
percentages that we're
goals.
aiming for, yes.
Why are you keeping them the same?
Well, if you kind of look at kind of our history over how we've met and didn't meet, we've been very inconsistent. And I think having those as benchmarks that we can consistently hit year after year is a really good, would be a really good step forward.
Do you think the change in curriculum is gonna impact that at all?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if that,
Yes.
maybe that's why you stayed, but I
Yeah.
wanted to find out.
Yeah, I don't wanna change too many things. I mean, there's gonna be a lot curriculum wise, so I guess
Yeah.
I also wanna know what is and is not working across different measures, so.
How do you inform the parents of this?
Of AGR.
Yeah.
Do we have something on the website?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we typically just stick with the website information, we don't necessarily
So
send
so the
anything
parents don't
out.
necessarily know how their child is doing in relation to this?
Well, the parents, I should say, parents are always informed of how they do on the different assessments.
Okay.
So the students take the assessments 3 times a year,
Mhm.
parents get those reports. They also get all of the, report card assessment results, so they're informed of those multiple times throughout the year. I would say that parents in kindergarten through 3rd grade don't necessarily, know that there are goals related to AGR.
That's what I was wondering.
But they do know their students' progress. Alright. Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay, staffing. We've had a little movement since we last met, and even some changes since I since I sent these notes. So we have a couple staff that are gonna be moving into new roles. So Linda Lebot has taken the math interventionist and GT teacher position. We have Stephanie Robertson, who will be taking on Francis Nazario's role, which was the EL coordinator. Daniel Schultz will be moving into the district reading specialist position.
And she's new?
She was an interventionist.
Okay,
But she will be
okay.
taking on the, district reading specialist position, so she's not new. And then we also have Sandy Hager, who is gonna move from 3rd grade to 4th grade. We, with these changes, have a couple openings, so we did interviews for the 3rd grade teacher position last week. We did offer the position to somebody, and I know Jessie will be sharing that later tonight. We're still looking for a Spanish teacher. And we also have Shauna Anders, who is currently a kindergarten teacher, but she will be moving into the reading interventionist position. So we also currently now have a kindergarten position open. So still to fill is Spanish, kindergarten, and then also Katie Strutz submitted her letter of resignation. So we are looking for a district library media specialist. So just a few things.
Was Francis she was EL or she was Spanish teacher?
She
or-
was EL.
Okay.
Yes.
So where did the Spanish teacher vacancy come from, or is that a new?
So
position?
Stephanie Robertson was Spanish.
Okay, thank you. for-
Last year, but she's licensed now, and will take that position
Okay.
for us, so. Stay tuned. More to come. Any questions on staffing? It's kind of exciting to, when I think of all of the staff we have moving into different roles, I actually think it's kind of exciting, and just knowing that we have classroom teachers who are gaining that classroom experience, but then also looking to extend their impact to different areas of the school, I think it's really cool. So we got a lot this year, but I think it's a really good thing, so. All right, and one last thing to share. I've been working with a couple of the 4K and kindergarten teachers to put together this transitional kindergarten classroom idea that we're gonna try. We have been watching 4K and kindergarten numbers for this upcoming year very closely. And we have currently 26 kindergarten students enrolled and 25 4K students enrolled. So that's pretty pretty small, it's pretty small than smaller than what we've, had in years past. So we had kind of been tossing around ideas at the end of the school year, you know, do we have 2 sections of 4K and 3 sections of kindergarten? Do we flip-flop it? Do we have 4 sections, or 3 sections of 4K, 2 of kindergarten? We couldn't really land on anything because I think either way you look at it, those ages are just tricky, just given how young they are and they need just a lot of support. So the 4K and kindergarten teachers approached me with an idea to have this transitional kindergarten classroom. And basically it's kind of a multi-age classroom, so it would be a mixture of 4K students and kindergarten students in one classroom. And the goal of this would be kind of twofold. So you have some students that will be enrolled in kindergarten next year in this classroom, and these students maybe are not quite ready for the full jump into the heavy academic rigor of a full day kindergarten program. Kindergarten doesn't really nap anymore, there's not a lot of structured playtime, it is very much heavy on academics and learning. So the kindergarten students that would be in this transitional classroom would be the ones that would benefit from kind of an in-between. So they've gained a lot socially, they have some academic stuff to learn yet, and they also need that time to play, to rest, to expand their communication skills, problem-solving skills. And then we have this group of 4K students that will also be in this classroom that it's kind of the opposite. They'll kind of be, you know, they're kind of ready for a little bit more of a push academically, but also recognizing that they're 4 and still need that play. So we're gonna give this a go. Mrs. Emily Krieger is gonna be the one that is gonna be heading this up. She is gonna take on this transitional classroom. And it's gonna be really flexible, so the kindergarten students will have the opportunity to attend small groups with some of the kindergarten classrooms. We'll have our interventionists working in the classroom and pulling out at certain times. So it's really gonna be intentional and strategic with the kind of support that we are providing for these students. And I'm really excited about it. One thing that we talked about as kind of a reasoning behind this is that we've had, I wanna say this is our 5th year now of full day 4K. And with that, it's our 5th year of our Little Stars program. And we've always talked about how can we use what we're learning about these students to really meet their needs in a different way. Because when you have students that are here in 3K, you get to know them pretty well and you know their needs pretty well, and you can start to match their needs with the support, whether it's kind of an extension, enrichment, or if it's extra socialization. I mean, the needs are so vast at that point. And two, you know, we get a lot of students that in kindergarten, you know, it's their first experience with any type of structured school system, because 4K is not required in the state of Wisconsin. So, you know, a student might be behind academically in kindergarten, but not really because they haven't been exposed to it, because they haven't had to be. So we're just kind of trying to think outside the box a little bit and meet the needs of the students a little bit better. One question that came up was whether these students, I guess questions about the needs of the kindergarten students that will be in this transitional classroom. There's one, as of right now, there's one student that is receiving special education services and the rest are not. So they're not, you know, it's not related to any kind of learning need per se. There's just, the teachers just identified that they needed just a little cushion before they're launched into kindergarten with more of that academic rigor. So I'm really excited about it. We recognize that there's some questions that we don't have answers to just yet. Little things like scheduling. I mean, we've talked about anything from, you know, well, what about 4K graduation? Because we have kindergartners who already made their 4K graduation. So do we do just a promotion of sorts? Or kindergarten said, well, we could all do a graduation to 1st grade, or, you know. So we've been talking about every possible detail. And if you know the kindergarten and 4K teachers, they're very detail oriented and will leave no stone unturned. So I just wanted to share that with you because I'm sure you'll be hearing a little bit more about that. Our next step will be to communicate with the families so that families have heads up and can ask questions and just have those conversations with the teacher herself, so they know what to expect. So, any questions on that?
I think it sounds great. I mean, try something that can maybe benefit the kids.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
We're probably looking at a couple of years of this.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean, it all depends on what, I mean, numbers wise, right,
Right.
is your cutoff of determining if you need to go back
Right.
to that?
Yeah, we don't necessarily have a cutoff number per se, but trends are showing fairly consistently much lower than what we had. So I think we can stick with this for a while.
I mean, a couple of years at least
Yeah.
to see. Okay.
Yep.
And Miss Anders is still contributing to this project, even though
Yes.
she's outgoing.
Yes, and that was one of the things we talked about too. But one of their biggest asks was that interventionist support. So I think her having that vision and now being in that role, she'll really be able to connect the pieces there for all of us. It'll be really helpful.
Well, we have some very vested interest on the board, so we are excited to see how this rolls out.
Great, I'll keep you updated.
Can wait a year, huh?
That's all for me, that's all I have.
okay, any more questions? All right, we'll keep moving. Are you?
I can give a brief update on Dave's, yeah. He is on vacation this week, so could not be here, but, a group of staff members presented to Dave the idea of creating a professional learning community, to address some just student behavior, things that they've seen throughout this year, so there's more consistency on how the behaviors are being handled, and so he was all for that. They've met several times already, and they are developing a plan that they're gonna bring forward and hopefully put in place for next school year. And then the other item he has is about professional development, focus for next school year. He would like to focus on with the staff, building a reflective culture. This is part of the evaluation framework, the Danielson domain 4A on reflecting on teaching. So he'll work on creating an individual and building goals to become more skilled at reflecting on teaching so that they can become better at their craft. And then I will jump in and I'll do Katie's as well for Pathfinder, because she is on vacation this week as well. So Pathfinder is finished up the year strong. They had 7 kids graduate. 5 of them graduated early, which is exciting. 2 are going to college and 4 are entering the workforce. The kids wrapped up their partnership with ESI and they made brownies and homemade pizzas for their last session together. And they also took a trip to Bay Beach. So for Algoma Venture Academy, or AVA, end of the year project showcase was attended by over 100 people, which was great. They had 22 projects on display. It was great seeing the growth of the students and their ability to communicate with community members. Project showcase are great reminders of where we started and the progress the students have made. The next meeting, she'll have some final results of our performance measures and talk more about the planning for the 24-25 school year. They're looking at 33 students enrolled for next year right now, with potentially 2 or 3 more showing interest, so that would be 35. And that's kind of the sweet spot of where they're looking at for enrollment. So, and then for Pack of Pups childcare, summer's off to a very busy and a really great start. It is very busy over there. The high school student helpers, they have 2 of them currently working over there, have been a great addition to the building. They are fully staffed, which is exciting. They've only had to gone over once so far this summer to help. So they're taking field trips right now to see a magician at the elementary school and then to the beach the following week. They've made some slime, moon sand, various art projects and crafts. The school age room has been introduced to Junie B. Jones. I know Katie's personally reading that out loud to the kids. every day during their snack time, and the kids are loving that. And then just one other thing she didn't mention in here, we are having kids at Pack of Pups attend summer school as well. So we're providing that transportation for the kids to get to and from summer school. So,
Excellent. Well, I guess you can't really answer for the others, so we'll
I can
keep
try.
going. Marie?
So I was also gonna talk about the contracted services with CISA. Thank you, Chrissy, for explaining the units of service. Heidi Siebert, their special ed director, has been working really hard to make it a little bit more fair, for lack of a better word, so that we're really looking at what services that we are utilizing from them and paying for that unit of service. Through CISA 7, we do utilize their OT, PT, and soon to be part-time speech and language pathologists, since we're going from 3 SLPs to now 2. We're hoping to have one of their SLPs shared between Kiwani and I believe one other school district for the upcoming school year, and I think they're still looking at hiring someone for that. And then we utilize CISA 8 for our DHH services, so that contract will be up for approval tonight as well. Then also in your packet, there is our 4 schools contract. It was previously called a few different things. Seeds for Schools, Seeds, and really what it is, it's the same platform, but it's expanded. They've had some other additions previously, but this is the first year that we're hoping to add on the ADA for schools, or previously called ADAPT, which is essentially another warehouse for our 504 plans. When we have students in special education, our goal is always to get them out of special education so that even if they do still qualify as having a disability, that they no longer need that specialized instruction. So having that same platform to be able to go from their IEP to then a 504 would be really helpful. They also are hoping to have this platform house things like student learning plans for our EL students, hopefully any type of Act 20 reading plans in the future. So we already have paid that service setup fee, so we won't have to pay that again. We would just have to add on any additional things that we would want, all within that same platform, which is really nice. We do also utilize their WISE support, and Shelley can attest that that is super helpful. Even though Shelley is amazing at fixing our WISE errors, it is nice when we're both scratching our heads trying to figure out why something isn't clearing, to have that support. So yeah, that's really all I have for tonight. Any questions on that?
All right. Moving on to committee reports. We had a few committees meet. First one we'll talk about is the charter school committee.
Well, I gotta find it. I did not pull that one out. Give me a minute. Well, we met and, I'll just tell you off the top of my head. We met and I was given a wonderful background of what was going on with the charter school. And I think I found that the most eye-opening. It was wonderful to see everything that has been going on and how it all came about. So that was wonderful. I would say that was probably the majority of the meeting. Then we talked about the application process through the program, the student projects, the assessment, everything for the grant funds. Then we talked about 45 students. It was about what AVA could handle. They're looking for 32 students. They, and that's when Katie said the sweet spot was 35, but they could go more if needed. Jeremy and I are both on there, so we were asking things about, okay, well, how's that gonna work with the referendum? How does that thing, everything get changed? And Joan was able to walk us through that. So, that was pretty much it.
Good meeting. Okay, we also had a finance committee meeting on June 11th. And basically, pretty much Amber summarized, we looked at the amendments that were going to be needed to finish out this year. We looked at the budget so that we could have a very tentative preliminary budget going forward so that we can keep paying our bills as of July 1st. Talked about the insurance rates for the retirees. We're very pleased about the bond rating that we were given. And part of that, I know that Amber had shared with us that we need to maintain our fund balance at a certain level. They'll be watching to make sure that some of the things that we currently are doing, that we still are as prudent with our money. And then there have been some changes with the Department of Labor's overtime pay for salaried employees, and the committee decided at this point we are just going to monitor. We're not gonna change anything. We're going to monitor the amount of overtime between July and January, and then sort of see what happens. So, so the committee did make a recommendation to the full board in terms of the different budgets, the amendments, and the preliminary, which we will, and the, I guess the retirees, all these are gonna be handled in action, so. All right, building, grounds, and transportation. Johnny?
Okay. We met on June 11th, not June 1st like it says. Anyway, we the first thing we discussed was some flooring options for the auxiliary gym. We had 3 different bids. We had samples of the 3 different floors. We took a walk. We walked into the auxiliary gym, kind of looked at our options as far as doors and heights and things like that. Ultimately, we decided to go with one of the bids, which is the Basement Brothers, which is, it's kind of like a rubberized floor type thing. We decided to go with that. It's a little thicker floor. I think it'll stand up better than the thinner stuff. We discussed that. We made a motion to approve that floor. Then we looked at doing something with the scoreboard down at the city park, which is used for baseball and football. It gets a little tricky as, we're paying for the scoreboard and yet we have to rent the field, so we're trying to come up with some kind of scenario where either they pitch in for the scoreboard or they're paying us for rent on the scoreboard. So that we left discussed. We're gonna get some bids on just a baseball scoreboard and not a football scoreboard. We then talked about possibly the idea of moving the football field up to the high school. With that discussion came with redoing the track as far as if we should bury conduit for future use of football field up there, and we decided that would be a very good idea. And ultimately, I think we decided that moving the football field up to the high school would be a very good idea.
Well, I think it's been bounced around
Yes.
for a long time. Number one, the field that the kids play on is just an awful
Yeah.
field for them. It's really unsafe.
Yeah.
And whatever you wanna call that building that we built there,
The press box?
press box, I think is also sort of
Right,
a
and we have,
dangerous.
we have to stick a lot of money into the existing, I guess, facility that we would be using or renting.
Right.
And we got transportation involved in that. So, we're kind of looking at going forward with moving that field up to the high school and getting some bids on scoreboards and goalposts and bleachers and stuff like that. And hopefully we can get some, donations, from the people in Algoma or businesses or whatever to get that moved, but.
Well, the timing is, we should make a decision before we do all
Right.
the changes to the track.
And one thing, I guess.
It wouldn't be referendum money.
I guess
for
one
the
thing to
football.
mention is it would not be referendum money
Right.
because that did not get approved, so.
Right.
Jesse, if you wanna.
Yeah, I'll just throw a couple things in. So this was a question that we had asked back on the community survey as well, just as an advisory. It was not built into any of the referendum work or dollars that were asked the community for, but you can see the response from the community on relocating the football field to the high school. At that time, it was 46% in favor, 35% no, 19% unsure. So there was a little bit of a split, but more in favor of the yes for it, so.
Well, but again, that question didn't have any of the information. It didn't talk
Correct.
about the
Correct.
investment we would have to make at Perry in the scoreboard,
Yep.
in the press box, and the field, and all of that. So I mean, it was just a very basic question without a lot of information.
And I've had several conversations with our football coaches, our athletic director, with Mr. Robertson about this, and the consensus from all of them is this is the right decision for the district and for our players, is to move the football field up here. So they were in support of that.
Why don't we ask the same question about baseball? Is it just because of the Gwins, or like, why focus on just football when we play baseball right there too?
Sure, so the baseball facility there is newer down at Perry Field. You've got that new concession stand, new press box, all as one. You've got the bleachers, field is pretty good shape, I would say, for baseball. We don't have a baseball field here. We would have to create one, find a space for it on the district property for it, so.
Football field would fit inside of the track.
Inside, it used to be back in the day, didn't it? I mean, there was the concrete bleachers and.
How much do you pay the city to rent Perry Field for football?
It varies depending on what type of work is needed, but they do all of the,
The markings?
actually, I think our guys do.
High school does it.
Yep. We have the coaches or facility crew go and paint the lines.
Yeah,
There's
we
a
do
cost
all of that.
related to the lighting, there's a cost to us related to the lighting.
Yes. One of the things I've asked, I've been talking with Casey from the city, and actually met with Matt Murphy last week as well on this. I asked if I could be put on the next Parks and Rec committee for the city to go initiate a conversation with them on the scoreboard for the baseball, and seeing if the city would be able to contribute, or if there would be any support for that. And so, if the meeting holds in July, we'll be attending that to discuss it with them.
And that's for the scoreboard for the baseball?
Correct.
Okay, not the scoreboard for the football? Correct. Making sure, because I'm on that committee. I'm just curious as to how much we pay. And then another angle, even though I'm really like keeping the football games down there, we could never host any playoff games because of the way the field is, sharing of that field.
Correct.
I think if you share that with people, that might be a way to sway some of that 19% over to either the yes or no column, because if they knew that, they would go, well, we can't ever attract teams. Heaven forbid if we ever got big again, and we were in a division where we could never do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, there is lots of information that
Yeah.
we need to try and get out to the public if we're gonna,
Right.
But the timing just seems like, with the
Right.
referendum dollars going to the track, that, and the
We're gonna have to stick
repairs
a lot of
needed.
dollars in repairs down there
Yeah.
with the press
that-
box and the scoreboard and stuff like that. So.
Right,
Oh, shop class could build a press box.
well, I think they may have built that one.
Are
I'm
you-
sure it's up to code though.
Are you aware of the fundraising efforts already at Perry Field for the baseball stuff, the celebration, the matching funds from?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So one thing I forgot as far as the building committee was we talked about the new sweepers or scrubbers for the floors. We talked about getting 2 new ones. I think we did approve that, correct? One to replace at the grade school and one to replace at the middle school. And then the old good one would be used up here in the auxiliary gym, so.
The little mini Zambonis?
Yes.
Yes.
They actually fell under the limit of needing to bring it to the board for approval
Yeah.
or for going out for bid, but we just wanted to make sure the committee was aware that we were moving forward with the purchase of those two, so.
Would you need, with the new floor going in, you need that same type of scrubber?
It's actually a special chemical, so that's why we
That's why we
suggested.
suggested
Okay.
keeping one of the old ones that work good
Gotcha.
for that, they won't get mixed up.
I'm excited for the new floor, because that is really slippery on there.
I'm assuming the new one will
Yeah,
take care of that slipperiness.
yes, yes. Be very rubberized.
Okay. Any questions for Lonnie? All right, other items for discussion? Nobody is gonna be able to say they didn't know to plan ahead. The school board convention is January 22nd to 24th, 2025.
It's like a Wednesday,
That just
Thursday,
sounds
right?
good.
Tuesday, Wednesday,
It's
Thursday.
always a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so, I know I've said it a million times before, if at all possible, try and reserve those dates. It's really, really good information down there. All right,
Okay,
action items.
So, Tuesday, 2025 is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
22nd to the 24th in the year of
2020 is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah,
So
we always
it's-
go down to.
Okay, gotcha.
There are some pre-conference sessions also. They require you to, book for 3 nights. You pay for 3 even if you go for 2, so we usually go, that way you can get our registration materials, you can go to some of the pre-conference things if you want. Okay. Moving to action items, I need a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes of May 20th, the charter school committee meeting minutes of May 20th, the building and grounds and transportation meeting minutes of June 11th, and the finance committee meeting minutes of June 11th.
I'll approve with the correction on this one.
With the date, okay?
Yep,
Date and time.
Date and time. Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second with that amendment to correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the bills that were presented to you.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made by Chrissy, seconded by Chris Schley. Questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the meal program rates for 24-25.
So moved.
Motion made by Chris Benish. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Chrissy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the 4 schools contract in the amount of $4,875.20 for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion made by Chris Schley. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Lonnie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the CISA 8 contract in the amount of $15,774.72 for the 2024-2025 year.
So moved.
Motion by Chris Benish. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Chris Schley. All in favor?
Any
Aye.
discussion?
Or do we even ask that?
Oh,
I just was
yeah.
curious why it's not CISA 7, or if that's something they
They
don't.
don't have
offer
any
it.
teachers.
It's
Teachers
the
use
year-
the
it's the
Perfect.
deaf and hearing. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the changes to the retiree contributions for the life insurance as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Chrissy,
Second.
second
Doesn't
by
matter.
Lonnie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the 2023-2024 budget amendments as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Chrissy, seconded by Chris Benish. It is relating to budget, so let's do a roll call vote. Chris Benish?
Yes.
Chrissy?
Yes.
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 Amy?
Yes.
And I also say yes. Motion passes. Need a motion, do we have a dollar amount for this next one? Or are we just going to
So I'm gonna ask you to approve an amount not to exceed 887,000.
Okay,
We have 886 and some change in the budget. I don't anticipate it's going to be quite that much, but we are not done with payroll yet, so.
right, yeah, and it, yeah.
So what, can you say that 887,000?
Not to exceed, yes.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion to approve the Fund 10 transfer to Fund 27 and/or transfer to finalize the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 in an amount not to exceed 887,000.
So moved.
All right, motion made by actually Lonnie, seconded by Amy. Roll call vote, Amy?
Yes.
Fischler?
Yes.
Lonnie?
Yes.
Chrissy?
Yes.
Spanish, and I also say yes. Motion carries. And I need a motion to approve Fund 10 transfer to Fund 46, not to exceed the amount of $196,515.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Chris Schley, seconded by Amy. Roll call vote, Amy?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Lonnie?
Yes.
Chrissy?
Yes.
And I also say yes, motion carries. And I need a motion to approve the preliminary 2024-2025 budget as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Chrissy,
Second.
second by Chris Benish. Roll call vote, Chris?
Yes.
Chrissy?
Yes.
Lonnie?
Yes.
Chris
Yes.
Schley? And Amy?
Yes.
I also say yes, motion carries. I need a motion to approve the purchase of Robbins Plastic Classic 110 11mm synthetic flooring system from Baseman Brothers Incorporated in the amount of $110,433.
So moved.
All right, motion by Chris Schley.
Nope.
Amy.
Oh, Amy, seconded by Lonnie. I will make the comment, just to be clear on this, that this is not being covered through the referendum, and partly because of our having better interest than we expected. We fully expect to be able to handle this through our Fund 46. correct?
That is correct.
Right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We need a motion to approve the new signers for the district's Nicolay Wealth Management accounts. Barb Rogers, Chrissy O'Connell, Chris Schley, Amber Shallow, and Jesse Brinkman.
So moved. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
I know.
Motion made by Lonnie, seconded by Amy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the resolution designating the board clerk, board treasurer, board president, and superintendent as authorizers of Nicolay National Bank accounts.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Chris Benish, seconded by Chrissy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any requests for future agenda items?
Not exactly an agenda item, but I know like Jesse, Amy, and I weren't here to approve the purchase of pops. I might want a tour, or I don't know how busy they are right now in summer, but if we could see it, it would help explain, you know, where your sidewalk is cracking, where your playground stuff is going.
If you're around at all this week, I'd be happy to take you.
Oh, sure. I'll shoot you an email. Or we can line it up maybe with our schedules to make you not do it 3 times.
Well, yeah, I don't think it has to be anything so official. We have committees proposed. But, yeah. I'm
Something
sure
I'm not
you'd be
familiar with,
interested.
but yeah.
Thanks.
Maria.
Yeah, my daughter goes on Fridays.
Okay. I'll copy everybody on the email and try and get some availability.
I think we did one before one meeting. We had it,
Yes.
we met up there, but I think that was right before you got on.
Probably. I wasn't here for the purchase.
Okay, so you might be the only one.
Yeah.
All right, I need a motion to go into executive session under Wisconsin statute 19.85, subsection 1 and C, for the purpose of hires and resignations.
So I'll second.
Motion made by Lonnie, second by Chris Schley, roll call vote, Amy.
Yes.
Chris Schley.
Yes.
Lonnie.
Yes.
Chris
Yes.
Benish, and I also say yes. Going quick.